Hey guys, what's going on? It is Roth and Joshua here. Going to talk a little Black Panther. What leads us to this, you ask? I'll tell you. As we've been discussing quite a little bit around here, Spider-Man is now going to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Finally!
Yay!
Which is awesome.
That's
Everyone
our
can be
Kermit
happy
yay.
about that. Yeah.
We're all very excited about that. Obviously, we've been talking about it a ton and what it'll mean, and more information is coming out about that every single day, which you can find on ign.com. Shameless horrific plug. But in Joshua's new column, comics column,
I've got issues.
He's got issues. Talk a little bit about maybe a small or significant, depending on your opinion, potential downside to his inclusion in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is what it will mean for Black Panther, and I'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, very excited for that Spider-Man's in the MCU, but the movie that we're assuming he's going to be in, that reports have sort of pointed to, is going to be Captain America: Civil War. Originally,
It
when
makes no sense if he's not, but carry
right,
on.
Yeah. Originally, they came out and they had Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Chadwick Boseman, who's going to play Black Panther, come out when they made the announcement last year for the Marvel Phase 3 schedule, and they were pretty much told us that Black Panther was going to be sort of in between the two sides of Civil War.
Right.
That's what we were led to understand. In the comic, it was Spider-Man who was sort of caught between the two sides. He started out on Iron Man's side. Light spoilers here, I won't tell you everything, but he started on Iron Man's side, and which was like the registration side, and where superheroes had to give up their secret identity. So in a show of support, Spider-Man unmasked himself on live TV and told everyone that he was Peter Parker. Which was a huge show of support for Iron Man. But then, a hero got killed, and Iron Man's side was responsible for it, so he defected and went to Captain America's anti-registration, underground resistance, and where most of the true heroes were, and where the audience, where their heart was, on this Civil War conflict. And so I guess we assumed that Black Panther was going to take that role. Obviously, he's very different than Spider-Man. He's a Wakandan king, not like an everyman Peter Parker. He's he runs the Wakandan nation in Africa, and he's very different. But you could see how they would sort of take that and apply it to Black Panther and make him sort of the emotional tug of the movie, the heart and soul of the movie.
Right, and also the character that sort of is the eyes of the audience, that's sort of observing the two sides between Cap and Iron Man, and sort of, because he would be on one side and then another, and he's our through line to both.
Yeah, so the problem is that now that they do have Spider-Man, and he was the original center of this story, you've got to think that Marvel is now changing their plans. You can hear them rewriting the script.
I can hear it right now.
Yes, there's a little scribble, or typing on keys. Yeah. And so that means that Black Panther still could be in that movie, but my spidey sense is tingling. It's telling me that Spider-Man is now gonna maybe play more of his original role, which will diminish Black Panther's role.
Okay.
And the problem with that being is that everyone knows Spider-Man. Obviously, $4 billion his movies have made over the past, since 2000. But no one knows Black Panther unless you read the comic books or have been paying attention. He's been in a couple of video games here and there. He's been a cartoon here and there. But really, generally, people don't know who he is. Especially not on the level of Spider-Man. So he needs that kind of exposure. He needs to be up there with Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, Captain America and Iron Man. Playing that game, being in their league, and having people learn about him and be endeared to him because he's supposed to be the emotional struggle of the story. And I feel because Spider-Man is now part of the MCU, he won't get as much attention as he originally was going to get, and that he needs.
It's interesting because I will say this, that I think that there was the rumor that Black Panther may appear in a little, certainly there's hints that there's hints about him in Age of Ultron.
Yes,
a ton of hints about him, Claw, and so forth like that. And we would assume there would also be maybe a little tag that would lead us into more about Black Panther or about Civil War. So we've been sort of assuming that. So now would Spider-Man take the place and have that little post-credit tag potentially?
Wouldn't you? There are billions of dollars to be made with Spider-Man, so you'd think that they would give that space to him now.
But I would say this though. First of all, I do think they're probably taking the sort of the central themes of the Civil War storyline, but they're going to tweak it to match the universe that they created, where so many of the superheroes are already out of the closet.
Yeah, they have no secret identities.
They don't have secret identities. However, with the inclusion of Spider-Man, he could take up that role because it's going to be a teenage Spider-Man. It's going to be a teenager. Peter Parker's going to be in high school, and he's probably just sort of discovering his abilities. He's just getting out there in his costume and things like that, and he probably will have a secret identity in the film, and he could sort of hold that position in the film. But because he's going to be so much younger than these other heroes and not kind of playing on the same level playing field as your Captain America and certainly your Iron Man, who are full-grown men, I would have to imagine that the character kind of in the middle of them would still maybe need to be a man, Black Panther, and that Spider-Man will be in it. They'll be introducing him there, and he'll certainly play a significant role. But for him to actually be on both sides seems, as a teenage boy, I don't know. Does that make so much sense? He couldn't, to me, hold the same position that he did in the comic because he's not in a level playing field with them. What do you think? What say you?
Well, that's a good point. But I feel like they are going to find a way to make it work. And again, I don't know anything. We're just like wildly speculating here. Really,
lying and
we're just doing like this. But that's just what I feel in my gut. And I don't know how they're going to handle it. But if they wanted to, they could. Even as a young teenager, he could. Because Spider-Man's like, he's sort of, everyone doesn't assume he's a kid, actually,
well, maybe he sort of looks up to Tony Stark, and then he's like, no, this isn't the right idea, and he switches sides. Maybe they become like dual mentors for him, and he switches sides. I don't know.
Possibly.
I don't know. Entirely making everything up. Yeah.
You should be one of the writers. No, so ultimately, bringing it back is just the point that whatever they do, it's less time and spotlight for Black Panther, who needs it. These movies have been long overdue for a touch of diversity. He's a black character that we haven't had to get his own. Well, we have had black characters, but to get his own solo movie, and he is getting his own solo movie. So it's not like he's getting nothing. It's not like they're
pushed back, but so is everything else.
Yes, everything's been pushed back. But still, it's not like he still is getting that, and that's still good. But I just feel that this goes back to something actually I liked about Marvel Studios for a while was that they did not have Spider-Man and the X-Men and Fantastic Four, but they're not really a big money cash cow like the rest are. So they were forced to dive into their catalog of other heroes and take B-level, C, D, Z-list characters. Guardians of the Galaxy, which no one had heard of, and now is like the biggest thing on the planet.
Right.
But now with that they've got Spider-Man back, they're taking time, money, and resources that will go towards those other characters and putting it on their already established characters, which is sort of a concern I had. It was something I was enjoying, but now it's like my worst fears are realized. I think they're going to pump the brakes on digging into their catalog to instead
really focus on Spider-Man.
On like Spider-Man, so.
It does feel like they're full steam ahead on Spider-Man, which I can understand. They've wanted this character back for a really long time. This is their star, you know, and they've got him back and they want to give him full attention. I do think because Sony is still ultimately going to have the solo Spider-Man movies, that Marvel will still be though they'll be very invested in Spider-Man, and rightfully so, they'll still be very invested in creating strong stories for their own characters and focusing on them. I think there can be balance in the universe. I think that we can have a great Spider-Man and give attention. No?
Balance? What are you, Yoda?
Yes. I am revealing right now that this whole time I have been Yoda. I really think that we can have a great Black Panther movie too. But I certainly understand your concerns. I think you bring up some really great points.
He's Marvel's Batman. Come on, give him a chance.
Give him a chance, people. Those are some of our thoughts. Well, those are Joshua's thoughts, and then my counters to them. Make sure to read his column. It's really great. It brings up some of those thoughts, a little more detail.
Thank you.
And let us know your thoughts. Are you worried about this? Do you think that some of the other characters, including Black Panther, and maybe especially Black Panther, are not going to get their due because everything is going to be about Spider-Man at this point? Or do you think that it all can coexist in beauty and harmony together? Leave your comments below. And for all things Spider-Man and Black Panther, keep it locked right here on IGN.